me personally, I feel like the more I teach, the better I feel as a competitor too, because sometimes I'll be teaching maybe a position that I like to use a lot when I compete, and then I get to watch a bunch of other people doing that position, and I'll catch subtle little mistakes that maybe even I'm making when I do it in a match.
Yeah, that you can then help correct them, and maybe it's correcting you. Now, but also you'd mentioned that Bruno's helped you with mental, and it's not that Cobrinha didn't, but I think that's just the nature of different people.
Correct.
I'm sure there was plenty of advice even back then that could have been given, but would it have been received the same way? Were you in a position to, we are growing differently in this sport and in life. And I mean, that could probably just be a big part of it as well. Your growth maybe got to a point where you were like, really ready to focus on that advice.
I think I maybe wasn't mature enough at that phase in my jiu-jitsu to understand a lot of the mental lessons that Cobrinha was teaching. And I think I was also so overwhelmed by the level of jiu-jitsu that I was being exposed to, right? Because I was seeing guards I had never seen before.
Right.
I was seeing variations to attacks that I didn't know existed. I was seeing whole new, I didn't know that the Kimura back then wasn't just a submission, but you could use it to outmaneuver people, take their back.
Things.
I didn't know any of that when I got to Cobrinha. So I think I was so overwhelmed by just the level of jiu-jitsu that when he would talk about mental toughness or mental things, maybe I just wasn't processing all of it.
But that's why this is fun. That's why I think so many people like you have chosen to do it with your life and not just do it for other martial arts, maybe just a couple years. Oh, that was fun. I broke some boards, right? I grew up doing karate here in America. I know the whole thing, breaking boards, man. But I think that's why people continue to do it. And you see so many people that even when they do get their black belt, they keep doing it.
Yes.
Even if they are not competing anymore and they're a hobbyist, I think that's a big part of it. They just enjoy keep the continuation of learning. Now, all that to say, being a coach and just knowing jiu-jitsu is great. Can you share anything maybe where having those two type of teachers in your life has affected you in your personal life as an individual?
So I think when you do jiu-jitsu full time, especially as a job and a lifestyle, the way I do it, your jiu-jitsu and your outside life are going to be interconnected pretty much all the time, right? I think every decision I make off the mats is going to in some way, form, shape, or another be influenced by something I'm doing on the mats, right? But I think same thing with Bruno. I think he's helped me have more of a champion's mindset even when I'm off the mats, I think one of the biggest things Bruno would always talk about is you can be a black belt as much as you want on the mats, but are you carrying yourself as a black belt off the mats? There's certain morals, values, things like that I think are also very important if you're going to wear that belt. I think it's what separates jiu-jitsu from a lot of these other martial arts, right? Or what we think should separate jiu-jitsu from a lot of these other martial arts.
And just thinking on that, you've been training how long now?
It's going to be 14 years in December.
14 years. So let's look at, that's a long time. You probably have seen the sport evolve in America here a little bit.
Quite a bit.
And with those characteristics or the character and the value on and off the mat, and training for 14 years, how have you seen the sport evolve in America? The good and the bad.
So let's start with the good. I think the good definitely outweighs the bad with the evolution of jiu-jitsu. I think one of the biggest things that we've seen is this explosion of no-gi, because I think in America, wrestling is very popular. So once you get to the States, wrestling is going to start to influence things as well. So we've seen this explosion of no-gi and this evolution of no-gi techniques where the leg lock game is getting very crazy. Now there's leg lock positions that you can use to the arms. There's all sorts of different attacks and defenses that are coming out in the no-gi game.
Right.
And we're starting to see that next form of innovation with jiu-jitsu where the lapel guards are getting very crazy. Everybody's got a new back take. Everybody's got a new berimbolo variation. All of that, right?
Which for me as a beginner is just slow down.
Dude, when I started jiu-jitsu, if you opened your guard, you were already crazy. When I was a white belt, it would be me and my 3 white belt friends sitting against the wall watching one of the purple belts roll, and he would open his guard and put in a lasso and do the simplest little lasso sweep to the side, and we're all there oh my god, he just opened his guard. Dude, did you see that? How? Yeah. So it's very crazy to see how now white belts are hey coach, how can I berimbolo into a crab ride and switch to an armbar when I have that?
Do you like that aspect of it?
I like it, but I also think the fundamentals are extremely important, and I think you can plug all that in slightly further down the line and get better results. I think if you're a white belt obsessing on berimbolos and you don't know how to do a knee slice, that's probably a problem.